Smurfy greetings, everyone. Today is April 7th, and this is a very, very special day in the history of the Smurfs. It was on this day when their population exploded. And yeah, it exploded. And that's a wonderful thing. So for today, I want to just simply take the time to talk about, well, this amazing population boom in our blue friends and what this means going forward into the future of our Smurfy friends. So, share your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'm just going to get right on into this wonderful thing. First, I'm going to sip my peach tea, and then I'm going to just go right on into it. So, before this day of April 7th, we were given a teaser showing off the boys. The premise behind this was the village of 100 Smurfs, the 99 guys and a gal that we knew and loved so well, wasn't the only village. And out there in the Forbidden Forest, many sets of eyes gazed upon all of us, and we began to wonder just what this all meant. Speculation came up about what it meant when it came to seeing this first trailer, but it was in the second trailer we learned something interesting. We saw creatures that didn't look quite like Smurfs show up. And then the off-camera reveal and the shock of the boys. We didn't know exactly what it was back then, but the internet decided that it was the most obvious thing. It was girls. And as time went on, closer we got to April 2017, everything was confirmed. It was a village of female Smurfs. I still remember going back years ago, and you can probably find this on my channel in the Smurf section, how I managed to get reference shots of the first female Smurfs, and then not too long after, two more. And it was so nuts how that actually happened. And then we got the date of April 7th and Smurfs the Lost Village. This movie is now 5 years old, and at the time, everybody in the fandom had their own idea of Smurf Girls. This description et, that description et. But when we found out that the girls aren't just this description et, but unique, it was one of the most amazing things to have ever witnessed. I still remember going to the theaters for the first time and watching this movie, and it was just awe-inspiring. You know, to see a whole new village of girls. And everyone in the theater was like dumbfounded when they saw this, because it was like, we really have female Smurfs now. And one interesting thing about that is all of the events that transpired after this movie. The first thing that transpired after this movie was the mobile game Smurfs Bubble Story. And yes, Smurfs Bubble Story was even promoted in the theaters when you went to see this movie. So essentially, it's actually the anniversary of that mobile game. Then we saw the Smurfs Lost Village thing hit another game, Smurfs Epic Run, had their own unique chapter, which later on an update turned into a portal world instead of keeping it as an exclusive chapter. Dumb idea by Ubisoft on that end. And then eventually into Smurfs Village. That game getting a grow village for players to simulate and grow on their own. But there was a problem with these gals. And that problem is, even though in 2017 this movie released and they brought out toys for these figurines of these new Smurfs, they didn't sell that well. You know, I still remember going to the Toys R Us because Toys R Us was still around, and one aisle in the back of the store, one aisle in the back of the store had Smurf stuff, and one specific shelf had the new Smurf stuff. It was plush dolls of Smurf Lily. And then the little figurines. We learned that McDonald's and Burger King even had toys of Smurfs the Lost Village, but it just. Ems did a piss poor job at introducing the girls in the merchandise. That is clear. So, something new, interestingly enough, came out of this, and that was the graphic novels, which, of course, is the village behind the wall, or, as it is said in the French, the village of the girls. Now, in France, this is the volume. This is the cover of the first volume in France. To those of you who don't know, The Village Behind the Wall is a series of graphic novels revolving around the Grove Girls. These blue female Smurfs, their own village, and the integration between their adventures and, of course, four Smurfs from the main village: Clumsy, Brainy, Hefty Smurf, and Smurfette, the ones who found the village in the movie. In the 5 years that have passed, many graphic novels revolving around the Grove Smurfs have been released. The unbiased part about it is, in the western part of the world, only 3 of these volumes have been released. Now, in the European world and the European region, 4 volumes are already out. And, as I have come to find out, soon the 5th volume will be releasing to the European populace. And the developer and the illustrator said that that's all on paper cuts, the people who are doing the graphic novel for English. They have to buy it and then do the translate and then release it to the public. So, this being said, we have to know about today. And the saddest part about today is that Imps has done a very poor job introducing many of the female Smurfs to the population. And this is one of the things they are trying to rectify with the Smurfs cartoon on Nickelodeon. And it's a slow process. Slow, but it's their own fault. Sure, we can say COVID impacted this release back in 3 years ago in 2019, 2020, and 2021. But the fact still remains that even though since 2017 we've known about this village of female Smurfs, so few people in the fandom didn't even know they existed. And that's rough when you have a village of all girls that has been around for years and everyone in the population still thinks that the only girls are Smurfette and to some extent Vexy. Very few know about this village of all female Smurfs. And what Imps is doing now, and Studio Pale is doing this now, is they have to introduce this village of girls to the mainstream population. You know, the Smurfs have done so many interesting things, especially teaming up with the world and UNICEF for completing many goals. And one of the goals that they were talking about is gender equality. And you'll see a picture of Clumsy and Smurf Lily right there. But even though they are talking about promoting this gender equality, it wasn't until late 2021 when they decided, they being Peo, that we're going to put more emphasis on this new Smurfs cartoon and try to get in more of the girls from this village. So, it's a work in progress, as many have said, and as the thought process is to believe. So today, 5 years later, that's right, 5 years later, the big question is, what do we really know about the all girls village? Well, to those of you who have been misinformed for these past 5 years, let me try to get you up to speed. And I'm going to do that like so. The name of the girls' village is called Smurfy Grove. Smurfy Grove is inhabited by pretty much the same number of Smurfs in Smurf Village, except this village is all girl. It's not 99 girls and one dude. It's all female village. They are led by Smurf Willow. And Smurf Willow wants all of the girls in Smurfy Grove to feel that they can be whatever they want, do whatever they want, and have them try new things, but be aware of the dangers around them in the Forbidden Forest, which this village was located deep within, and to show love for your fellow Smurfs. As we have learned through the movie and through the mobile game, Smurf's Bubble Story, as well as the graphic novels, even though there's a populace of, well, 100 girls, not all of them have names. In fact, to this day, on the eastern part of the world, only 19 of the Grove Smurfs have official names. 19 of them. So, moving forward, you have to wonder, when are we going to learn about more of these girls? And the most interesting part is the cartoon did one thing that we in the Western audience never got to realize, is it introduced us to one of the Smurfs that debuted in the graphic novel, and that was Smurf Begonia. If you've seen the Smurfs episode Crashing Gargamel's Party, that was when Fans and Smurf lovers and aficionados in the Western world were introduced to Smurf Begonia. She actually debuts in Volume 4 of The Village Behind the Wall, which hopefully will be coming to the Western audience before the year is up. But in any case, we need to know exactly who these girls are. So, let us move forward and do just that. As I have said, of these wonderful these, only 19 of them have official names. So, with this said, I want to simply give you all a nice little bit of info. This is the Smurfs Wiki, and these are the lists of our 19 wonderfully blue ladies who run and live in Smurfy Grove. And there's a description for each of them. I would take the time to go through all 19 of these, but unfortunately, tape is limited. My hopes for the girls of the Grove and the female Smurfs in general is that Imps decides to give them more screen time, more love, and most importantly, Imps has to introduce these girls to the rest of the world. Because in their refusal to do so, the world is ignorant to them. You know, they are ignorant to this community of all women, independent women, strong women, not defined by a physical trait like the boys. And it's sad. Hopefully, the world gets to know them better and we get to see more of our ladies in blue. Because everyone in the fandom needs to know about our girls. And I hope that when everyone in the Western part of our lovers of these Smurfs learn more about them, get to know them, know their names and who they are, we can see more people enjoy Smurfs wearing sand colored clothing instead of the traditional white clothing, named after various elements in nature and have their own uniqueness to them. This is what the Grove Smurfs need. And anytime I find out about a new name, I will let my Smurf communities know. And who knows, it might just translate into the Smurf games. What are your hopes for the Smurfs of Smurfy Grove? Tell me in the comments section below. Happy 5th anniversary to Smurf Willow and her girls. And here's hoping that you get a lot more love from the heiress of blue herself and everyone at the studio and Imps. And I'll be seeing more of you very, very soon.